On the morning of the 13th of February 2017, Kim Jong-nam was murdered at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. However, just 50 kilometers away in the city of Petaling Jaya and minutes apart, a man was ambushed by a group of more than 10 masked personnel. Right here where I am standing is believed to be the last known location of Pastor Raymond Koh at time of recording. His car was brought to a halt right about here. Just 42 seconds later, he was gone, and this quiet SS4 neighborhood was never the same again. 1 year has passed since the disappearance of Pastor Raymond Koh. The mystery has still not been solved by the police. Who abducted Raymond? Why was he abducted? These questions still haunt the Koh family until today. Some civic groups and the Koh family believe that this abduction could be a case of enforced disappearance. According to the International Convention on the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, the term is described as the arrest, detention, abduction, or any other form of deprivation of liberty by agents of the state or by persons or groups of persons acting with the authorization, support, or acquiescence of the state. The abduction had the swift Hollywood feel. It was like a scene straight out of CSI or NCIS. The same, however, cannot be said about the police investigation. To the frustration of the family, the police had made little progress in their work. Here is the chain of events that followed the abduction. Two eyewitnesses lodged a police report on the abduction just hours after it took place. Koh was uncontactable and reported missing later in the evening. 15 February. Koh's children, Esther and Jonathan, visited the scene of the crime, going door to door in the neighborhood to request for any closed-circuit television camera recordings of the incident. The recordings were then found, isolated, and handed over to the police. Later on, the owners of the cameras confirmed that the Koh family had acquired the images before the police took their statements. Also on the 15th of February, the police raided Harapan Community, a non-government organization established by Raymond Koh. The authorities hung around for a few hours and questioned the staff about Koh, asking questions about his work and allegations of the proselytization of Muslims. 18 February. While the news of Kim Jong-nam's murder continued to dominate the headlines, Susanna Liu, who had yet to receive any ransom demand or word whatsoever from her husband's abductors, issued a press release demanding that the authorities step up their investigation. 5th March. A former Uber driver by the name of Lam Chang Nam made contact with the Koh family and demanded a ransom of 30,000 ringgit. Mere days later, the police confirmed that this was just an attempt at extortion. 7th March. Then Inspector General of Police Khalid Abu Bakar announced that the police were pursuing a lead on the case and told the public to stop talking about it as it may jeopardize the investigation.
Shut your bloody mouth.
17th June. Police claimed that they shot dead one and arrested 3 other individuals involved in an alleged drug smuggling syndicate in Kedah who are allegedly connected to Koh's abduction. 25th July. The police announced that the kidnapping may have a connection to a syndicate operating out of Thailand. 19th October. Suhakam begins their public inquiry into the disappearance, calling upon more witnesses to come forward and testify. The hearing aims to establish whether Koh's abduction was a case of enforced disappearance. 20th October. Susanna testified at the Suhakam hearing that she found the police investigation focused more on trying to establish whether or not Koh and his NGO were involved in proselytization rather than his disappearance. Sri Ram, who co-founded Harapan Community alongside Raymond, said that Koh was a marked man and that he had been surveilled since receiving a death threat in the form of 2 bullets in 2011. An event organized by Koh's NGO Harapan Community was raided by the State Religious Affairs Department JAIS earlier that year. The basis was that the event allegedly involved the preaching of Christianity to Muslims, an allegation that has been denied. According to Sri Ram, Koh was even stopped at immigration checkpoints for hours of questioning and even told to report to Putrajaya. 30th October. IGP Khalid Abu Bakar admitted that Koh's children did find the CCTV surveillance tapes before the police and there may have been lapses by the police in their initial investigation. 14th November. Former Petaling Jaya City Hall councillor Peter Chong, who was missing in action from the 7th to the 15th of April, claimed that he went on a search for Raymond. He testified that he arranged a rendezvous with a stranger in Hat Yai, Thailand, but was abducted by a group that identified themselves as a Muslim youth organization in the area. He claimed that his abductors held him for several days before releasing him. 23rd November. Police admitted in the Suhakam hearing that the abduction appears similar to a police or military operation. 15th January. Current IGP Ahmad Fuzi Harun informed Suhakam that Lam Chang Nam, who had tried to extort the Koh family in the March of 2017, was charged with the kidnapping of Pastor Koh. 16th January. Suhakam suspends the portion of their public hearing on Raymond's disappearance. The Suhakam Act 1999 states that the Commission shall not inquire into any complaint relating to any allegation that is the subject matter of any proceeding pending in any court.
I was just a normal, quiet housewife, and suddenly I have to do everything myself.
I couldn't sleep for many days, or I would just stay up until like 7 a.m. and then I would tire myself to bed.
It has been a year since Pastor Raymond Koh was abducted. Until now, he is still nowhere to be found. In a recent interview with KiniTV, his family told us about the past 365 days without a father or a husband and how it completely turned their lives upside down.
I used to depend on Raymond to do everything from banking, insurance, but right now I have to stand in for him and even have to speak in front of thousands of people and to engage with the press.
For an entire year, Susanna Liu has been the main spokesperson for the family, constantly at the forefront to pressure the police for updates and reports on her husband. The Koh family and some civil society groups are of the opinion that it may be an enforced disappearance. As a result, the Human Rights Commission Suhakam held a hearing that lasted for 12 days across October 2017 to January 2018 for their own inquiry into the matter. According to the International Convention on the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, the term is described as the arrest, detention, abduction, or any other form of deprivation of liberty by agents of the states or by groups of persons acting with the authorization, support, or acquiescence of the state.
You know, my personal experience with the police force is they are one of the best in the world. If you look at Kim Joo Nam's case, they managed to catch the people just like that. If you look at Kevin Moraya's case, they used CCTVs and tracked and managed to catch the individuals who were involved in that. So if you track the police track record, it's very good. And those cases were done, in secret. They were intending to do that, the way in which it was done. This case is done in broad daylight, done by so many individuals, done on a road where there are cameras that are catching the people. And they're traveling on highways, CCTVs. So, for them not to be able to identify who were involved, not to be able to know which groups, I find it hard to swallow. Because they've got informers everywhere, and the Special Branch is one of the best in the world. It has been said many times.
They did not give us update, which is a normal thing to do. For any kidnapping or abduction cases, they would make announcements in the press.
Saya dah beritahu, banyak kali saya beritahu supaya biar kita siasat kes ini dulu, jangan bagi publicity. Tetapi oleh kerana terlampau banyak sangat publicity, ia mencacatkan siasatan kita. Tetapi apapun, siasatan ini kita teruskan. Tidak, there is no such thing as kita menutup kes ini atau kita tidak membuat apa-apa.
According to Koh's daughter, they were ahead of the police in finding and acquiring footage of what appears to be their father's abduction after a long door-to-door search in the neighborhood several days after the abduction.
So we drove along the road, and while we were driving, We saw broken glass on the road. My brother had this idea to, why don't we go ask for CCTV footages. The owner for CCTV footages, she was very helpful. She sent us, just a few hours later, she sent us the video. We went door to door to search for more footages. And on the 18th of February, one of the owners who had a good view of the road, we could see how the SUVs were waylaying his Honda, Raymond's Honda, and it was very scary for us. My heart just started pounding. After we gave that to the police, we found out then only the owner was called for to give a statement. Yeah, so that was already 10 days after the abduction.
CCTV footage, we can see that it was a very well organized operation, well funded in the sense that they're very expensive cars, about 15 men. You have to pay them lots of money to keep quiet. They executed it in less than a minute. They are also well trained. So it's kind of hard to believe that it's some small-time drug smuggler and human trafficking. And why would they want an old 63-year-old man?
No calls, no ransom demand, no information that anyone can give us.
The bigger question was looming. Why were the police focusing so much of their efforts and time into looking at whether Pastor Koh was involved in any proselytization of Muslims?
Questions were directed to him pro-satelliting, that means preaching or the questions were only addressed to that.
They questioned me for 5 hours until 3 a.m. into the night. And at that time I was already very traumatized. I was called again the next day for more questioning, and it was about the same questions again about Christianization. Reading room were asked whether Pastor Raymond talked about Christianity to them, and obviously no.
At that time, this is what the police had to say.
Ada juga laporan polis yang mengatakan pastor ini memurtadkan orang Muslim. Jadi kedua-dua laporan ini kita perlu siasat.
As the Suhakam hearing pushed forward, more and more details about the case began to surface. The hearing on Pastor Koh's disappearance was abruptly suspended after its 12th day of hearing, following a letter from the Inspector General of Police on the 15th of January announcing that former Uber driver was charged with kidnapping Pastor Koh. Suhakam hit their brakes and to suspend a part of their inquiry concerning Raymond, as the Commission is not allowed to hold proceedings relating to court matters.
The IGP says this on the 20th of March 2017, reported on Star Online. Then IGP was Khalid, and he said this. Tan Sri Khalid said, on the case involving a 31-year-old part-time Uber driver who was charged with demanding $30,000 from Koh's son, Jonathan, at Paradigm Mall at 9:46 p.m. on March 6, Khalid said the man was not involved in the pastor's abduction. Suddenly, Ilham becomes the main suspect. So I cannot understand how that took place and how a part-time Uber driver can have those resources. And what is his axe to grind? What is his beef? Or why are we so angry with Pastor Raymond Koh? And
we were shocked, saddened and disappointed that the Suhakam public inquiry was suspended. We will never know what happened to Raymond. All those questions that we have, they will not be answered. It's forever hidden or covered. We were supposed to question the special branch, 2 officers from special branch in the hearing.
We thought that this guy is just trying to make a fast buck, trying to make quick money. So we don't believe he's behind it.
A year has gone by. Not only is the Koh family disappointed, they are heartbroken as well.
When I came back and when I saw the CCTV footage, I thought the police would be able to find him with that, because it's just so clear that you know, there was like an unmasked guy. I think initially I had a lot of faith in the police. No, I didn't expect to cry because of this, but I really expected them to find him. And yeah, it felt like my expectations fell.
Pastor Raymond Koh disappeared on the 13th of February 2017. In the past year, the police were not able to locate him. The hearing on whether his abduction was a case of enforced disappearance was also suspended on the 16th of January 2018. The greatest hopes in the heart of the Koh family is that the public will not forget about their husband and father.
We will not let this case die. We will keep the memory of Raymond Koh alive, locally and internationally.
Don't shut up. Scream even louder, actually. Because just seeing like my dad and reading about Amri and Joshua Hilmi is the reason why people can do this to them. It's the reason why people can abduct them. Yeah, I just think about what my dad would want us to do, and what we want to see Malaysia become is something more important. And I mean, as like I'm 22 this year, so like all my friends are like, come, let's just not live in Malaysia anymore. Like, let's go live somewhere else where it's safer, where you don't have to suffer. It really makes me sad to think that these things can happen in my country, and I want to be proud to say that I'm Malaysian. And
then the only way is to highlight it by talking. Because the powers that we may close it. So hope that the government, hope that the Prime Minister hears it, hope that somebody of authority will hear it and say, I'm not going to allow this, Because if this happens in this country to Raymond Koh, it can happen to Amri, it can happen to Joshua Ruth Helmi, it can happen to anybody. And there's no more law and order.
I just want to say thank you to the Malaysian public for really being very caring and supporting to us, my family. We know we're not alone. So thank you to everyone who helped us to get closer to the truth of what happened to Raymond.
Pastor Raymond Koh disappeared on the 13th of February 2017. In the past year, the police were not able to locate him. The hearing on whether his abduction was a case of enforced disappearance was also suspended on the 16th of January 2018. His family has missed him dearly every single day since he disappeared.
I guess in general, he's really, really selfless. Selfless and humble.
He's very affectionate. He always says, I love you to me before I go to work. Sometimes he drives me to work and he cooks cooks like breakfast, oats for me. Also very reliable. Once someone's car broke down, so she said she called my dad, and she dropped everything and went to help.
But there was this one time where he and this friend of his were walking down like Pudu Raya or somewhere, and there was this homeless guy that was shirtless on the street, and my dad just took off his shirt and gave it to that guy.
Yeah, he was riding in the LRT, and he saw a lady who was very sad looking. Her countenance was so sad, and he just asked her, how are you? And then she told the story of her being a single mother, having 5 kids to raise, and it was tough going for her. And later we managed to help her with some monthly groceries. And I also think of his non-judgmental attitude.
So he was in KL, and then he spotted someone who had borrowed money from him before, but had not returned it. So when that person saw him, he ran away from my dad, but my dad chased him, and then my dad hugged him, and my dad said, "Never mind about the money, but how are you?"
Yeah, someone he visited in hospital who had tuberculosis, and he didn't mind going to see him, and he even bought this person his favorite food, which was fried chicken. So this person remembers very much.
You don't know him, and if you did know him, you wouldn't want to do that. You know, if you talk to him for even 5 minutes, you would see that you shouldn't have to abduct someone, even in that way, even if you were paid to do it.
Mostly people call him pastor because of his pastoral love and care that he has shown to them. To those in Harapan, he is known as Uncle Raymond, and everybody just go to Taman Sentosa and ask the kids, do you all know Uncle Raymond? They will all know him. They just love it.